Today I wanted to chat a little bit about the synchronicities on the twin flame journey. This is kind of a big thing that happens when you're going through the path, and it can really mess with your 3D life a little bit, because it is so in your face, it is so upfront, and it is so confronting at times, and you just sometimes feel like you might be, going a little bit crazy because you're just being bombarded 24/7, all the time with all these synchronicities and numbers and your twin flames name, and or it could be a plethora of other things, songs that come on the radio, or things that come up on your social media feed, see things that might come up on your YouTube. It could be, so many different things. It could be you just driving down the side of the road, or you're driving down the road and you see a big sign that says something, really profound, and it really speaks to you. There's so many ways that it shows up, and it shows up for a lot of different ways for most people, and most of those ways that I just spoke about. The I guess the importance of those synchronicities and signs is to push you through the journey and to keep you on the path, I guess. I don't think, or I don't know, I haven't heard of any real proper explanation as to why all these things start happening, but obviously the universe is sending us all these messages and all these signals that, hey, you're on this path and there's no getting off. There's no, turning around and going back. It's just forward at this point. So I think, what I wanted to talk about in terms of the synchronicities was that sometimes we can get caught up, and I did this too. We can get caught up with, oh, what does it all mean? And going down all the rabbit holes of like, oh my God, I just saw 1111. What does that mean? And we're searching up what these numbers mean. And okay, I just saw like maybe mirror numbers, and then we go into mirror numbers and what do they all mean, and things like that. And sometimes we can just get a little bit off course and a little bit wrapped up in what all the synchronicities might mean. Um, in fact, like, it will probably happen to most people. Definitely happen to me for sure. Um, you know, we still will see these synchronicities even when we come to the end of the path, but they do tend to dissipate out a lot, and die down a lot, as you come through your ascension process. But going through it, especially with a twin flame, there can be so many things that are just constantly reminding you of them and pushing you, towards them, and sending you messages that this person is highly, highly significant in your life. So it's not something that you can ignore. And if you're not having those things happen, you're probably not a twin flame, because those things are so profound and so in your face. Like, on a daily basis, there could be, 50 and upwards signs of this person or of your awakening in your life. Like, it was, for me, a constant barrage of things that would not stop, flowing in over the day. So it can become quite exhausting as well. And when they first start to show up, you can second guess yourself as well. You're like, is this really happening? Is this, kind of real? Um, Surely it's just a coincidence, like, we think it's just a coincidence that that song was on at that right time, that we, have that significant tether to the twin, reminds you of something of the twin or whatnot. You might see people that resemble the twin, see their name everywhere and things like that. So what I kind of wanted to get through in this video was that try not to get too caught up in the meaning of all these synchronicities. Yes, they do mean that this is your twin flame and you're going through an ascension process. But if we try and go down the rabbit hole of what every single little thing means, we'll drive ourselves crazy, and we're going to take ourselves off the true path that we're actually meant to be walking, and we're just going to be focused on the synchronicities. Yes, you have that period where you just get a little bit wrapped up in it because it's so crazy and it's like nothing you've ever sort of experienced in your life. But um after a little while that kind of dies down. The synchronicities and all that will still be kind of um bombarding you, but what the difference is you won't be placing so much meaning on it. So the less meaning I found for me, the less meaning that I place on all these things, um the more they kind of dissipated out. So, and the more that you come into that inner union space and that inner union frequency, the more that they kind of dissipated out. And also for me, the synchronicities changed over the course of um, my awakening as well. So it changed, the things that I was seeing changed at certain points as well. So, like number plates were a really big thing for me. But what I was seeing on those number plates changed as I was changing and vibrating higher in my frequency. Those synchronicities and those things that I was seeing did change. They changed to be less about the twin flame and more about me, I guess. There was less of the twin flame's name and initials and all that sort of stuff. There still was that dabbled in there a little bit, but less of that and more um signs and synchronicities that were, I guess, for me. But the more that I came into that inner union frequency, the more that they just sort of, I would still see them, but they would just flow through me. And I didn't put any importance on them, and I didn't put this huge meaning on them and things like that. And the more that I did that, the more that they kind of dissipated out. And some of them would come up repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly until I kind of realized what the message of them was, the truth of them was. I was giving them meaning. I was giving them meaning as to what they meant for the twin. And eventually I had this aha moment that it wasn't the meaning that it had tied to the twin, it was the meaning I had that was meant to be for me. So once I had that switch as well, it was like the universe was like, okay, you get it now, so we can back off a little bit. So yeah, the universe will keep pushing you and pushing you and pushing you and giving you these things and these things and these signs and the repetitiveness of it until I found anyway, until I really dove deep into, okay, what is the meaning of that? If it's like a one-off thing, or if it's like things that, the numbers repeating all the time and all that, that's fine. But I found for me towards the end of it, there were specific um messages that were coming through repeatedly, and I mean every single day, that were specific for me and that I needed to sort of come to the realization of. But they were things that, it was things that was mirroring what was happening inside of me as well. It just took me a little bit to realize that as well. So it was things that were happening for me at the time. It was mirroring back to me what was happening inside of me, but I just didn't realize it at the time. Once I came to that realization, excuse me, once I came to that realization, the universe backed off a bit from it, and I would see it sporadically here and there, but not bombarded with it, you know, all the time. So I would see it a lot less, because the universe was kind of like, okay, she's getting the vibe now. We can back off a little bit. So I think the biggest thing, if you're going through or you're just starting to see all these synchronicities and all that, like, that's fine. Just go with the magic of it, because it is like quite magical as well. Like, it's so amazing that once we have been activated onto this, we have this like portal with the universe that basically shows us and gives us all these signs and synchronicities that what we're going through is real. And that's another thing as well. It's trying to tell you that there is the higher power out there, that there is something else out there that's so much bigger than us that sort of we can't even wrap our minds around, that we sort of it's telling us, it's showing us that there's this higher power out there that's so much bigger than us, and that's so much more powerful, that we can even imagine. The paradox of that is that we are that as well. But anyway, for the purpose of the synchronicities, it's showing us that there is something so much more profound out there that we can't even fathom in our 3D avatars, that um, we need to wake up to. So it's saying wake up. It's saying wake up. It's bombarding us. If we didn't have all these messages all the time, kind of telling us, showing us the magic of the journey, you know, how would we kind of know? And it's not like they give us messages that are fully just what they're saying all the time and all that sort of things. Like, on an inner standing point of view, though, like on a soul level, your soul knows. It's just that the ego needs to get out of the way. Once we dissipate out that ego, and once we really start to get a handle on that ego structure, and we come back into the remembrance that we are the soul, and we are a energetic being in a 3D body, in a 3D world. We don't need to be bombarded anymore. But until that happens, it's like the universe is relentless in its pursuit of your awakening. So what I am bringing through in this video is, don't the biggest thing, don't put so much emphasis on what is the meaning of all of these synchronicities. And yes, the magic of it is great and all that, and experience that, go through that stage, whatever. The biggest thing is, the ego will want to latch onto that. The ego is going to want to latch onto that because it feels really magical, and it feels really cool. I just saw 1111, I just saw 1212, I just saw the 144s, like the mirror numbers, whatever. Like, this must mean something, like it must mean something. This is the ego. This is the ego trying to come in and tell you that it means something. And you will realize that as you go through more of your ascension process. You can feel the difference between the ego talking and then the soul talking. Eventually you'll be able to tell that difference. So when it's very much ego, it's very much like, oh my God, like, this is amazing, and this is blah 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 blah, and it just keeps going, and oh my God, I wonder what that means. And then you jump on Google and you're like, what does 1111 mean, and what does this mean, and blah 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 blah. That's your ego. That's your fear-based energy running, and getting excited and sort of running with all that energy, I guess. But what we need to do is we need to just bring that back, focus on what we need to focus on, which is, transmuting all that fear-based and lower-based energy, and coming back into oneness. So yeah, that's what I wanted to bring through just about the synchronicities. They are really cool. They're amazing. They're magical. Like it's it's part of the process, and it is what it is. I don't know why essentially that happens, but it's just built in and it's part of the process. So you know, enjoy it as well. Like I sort of really enjoyed it a lot more once I relaxed into it and was like, okay, I see the synchronicities, but they're just, I'm not assigning meaning to them. I'm just letting it flow through. Okay, yep, cool. Like another one comes up and then they kind of, yeah, dissipate out a lot. So I hope that helped a little bit in how you might view synchronicities moving forward. Thanks, guys.